the jiu-jitsu versus the sambo actual background that it is, man. Not a lot of the jiu-jitsu council, if you will. Like, I'm glad the resident jiu-jitsu man here on this show is able to acknowledge it and put a little weight behind the stake right here, man. Not a lot of the jiu-jitsu community is coming out to defend it, but the sambo community is heftily attacking it, really trying to go after that narrative. Is it going to come down to the striking, or is it going to be the jiu-jitsu? What's going to be the tool that Charlie Olives pulls out of his pocket in order to beat the Dagestani smash style? What do you think?
I think it's the clinch, the efficiency and the utility of the clinch, personally. If you actually literally watch it back, man, Oliveira is most dangerous when he can put you in that clinch. Why? You could pull guard at any time from there, right? You can arm drag, you could take the back. You could really just utilize the Muay Thai, the fantastic Muay Thai that he has, and just kind of smash somebody's face in and put them in a position to where you can more efficiently grapple. But I think that if Charles Oliveira is able to maintain a solid clinch and not get taken down, this is not the fight that a lot of Makhachev fans are going to want to see. But let's flip it on its head right there, AJ, man. Let's say Makhachev does get that penetration step and he gets the takedown. I'll tell you from, experience, you can be the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world, but if your guard gets past, that jiu-jitsu is out the window. The wrestler is going to be able to control where the fight takes place. So you tell me, what's more important, being able to dictate where the fight takes place or being dangerous wherever the fight takes place?
I would originally say dictating and where the fight takes place, man. Putting all the chips stacked in your favor. That's what the Dagestani smash style is all about. But the thing about the Charlie Olives, man, is he can snatch your arm out of nowhere, especially when you're in that careless moment. All the moments you've been leading to, everything your friends have been preaching, your coach has been preaching. It's finally the time to be on that big show. Your adrenaline's pumping, your heart's shaking. You're going. Next thing you know, some dude has a backpack on you, and it's never been a situation which you're put in, man. And that's a kind of the time tested nature of the Charles Oliveira that I like. That kind of is the X factor for me on this one, man. We've seen a lot, and I think a lot of the diehards and the hardcore fans really enjoy Charles Oliveira, but there's a lot of the fans who almost, I feel like, just hate on these Makhachev and the Khabib camp, and that's why we're not seeing a lot of the support come in. I know on the better side of this one, it was such a huge, it was like 3-1 open. Islam Makhachev was a favorite 3-1, and then it grew a little bit, and now it's basically money. I mean, plus 190 minus 190 plus 160. It's closer than ever. What do you think caused that big swing of momentum? Is it all the love for Charles Oliveira? Do you think we're getting hate from the Islam Makhachev team?
You know what, man? I think the most realistic reason why the betting lines would kind of neutralize or normalize, I guess you could say, is simply because, first off, like, it's all public persuasion, right? That's kind of what runs these odds. And if you see it, this is not a fight where one side is predominantly it's like factions, right? It's like everybody in Brazil and the jiu-jitsu guys, oh, Do Bronx wins, all the fanboys, right? But then you got the Makhachev fanboys. They're like, oh no, Islam just fucking destroyed. Basically on both sides, their camp is arguing they're going to smash them on both sides. And obviously, can it work that way? Yeah, it can work that way. Realistically, though, I think this is going to be a very competitive fight while it lasts. So this is really what it comes down to, man. I mean, if we're talking about X's and O's, real X's and O's, how does this fight truly play out, right? What do you think is going to be, and I don't want to say catalyst, I don't want to say X factor because we already kind of talked about that stuff, man. What mistake does either fighter need to make to let the other fighter just completely run away with it and get a stoppage win?
Yeah, I like the way you phrase that, because it is going to have to be a mistake that they make in which the other person really takes off, man. And I know for sure if it's Charles Oliveira and he allows Makhachev to stay in the top, command position, and be the dominating one, deciding on the factor, you're never going to win the fight off your back. And I think if you're Makhachev, man, I think you're starting off too early, get too comfortable with being in that smash position, and lose sight of the fact that you have finished basically every single one of your opponents in the first round, and letting Charles Oliveira make it out of that first round and really start to dictate and becoming a championship fight. If Charles Oliveira makes this one a long fight, I think that's where he really starts to shine on this one. You put it to somebody who's never even felt, a third round, a fourth round, these long distance fights, and you really bring it to him where he's not expecting that. I think that's what Charles Oliveira needs to capitalize on to really make a big difference here and really put a silence to all the naysayers that don't believe that there is a champion out there, and his name is Charles Oliveira. What
I
do you
mean,
think are some of the X factors, Derek?
well, let me just comment on what you said, man. First off, Islam Makhachev has seen a fourth round. Let's not forget that, right? He fought Thiago Moises, one of the best guards in the game in terms of jiu-jitsu. Now, does he have Dobronk, Charles Oliveira level jiu-jitsu? No, he does not. But you cannot argue that Moises isn't one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners on the roster. And yeah, Makhachev went 4 rounds with him. Obviously, outpowered him, outmaneuvered him. You know what I mean? Wrestled the shit out of him and got the big dub. Charles Oliveira, I do think presents many more challenges there, but I do think the mistake that ultimately is this, man. If Islam Makhachev gets a little too overzealous on a shot here, Charles Oliveira will make him pay. We know that. He will make him pay. If he mismaneuvers himself, Charles Oliveira is going to take his back, put the triangle on him, and probably choke him out the same way that he did to Dustin Poirier. I think we know this, right? But I think if you're a Charles Oliveira, the biggest mistake that you could possibly make is completely gassing yourself out in hopes of a first round finish, and Islam Makhachev is still there for 4 rounds, because that's the last thing that you want. But we could talk about X's and O's, and we can run in circles about this all day long. The fact is, neither of us know. And this is one of those cards where I'm okay walking away with just saying, whoever wins, wins, brother. I just want to be entertained. But now it's our job. Let's talk about the betting odds, right? Not the money line, because the money line is pretty self-evident. Do I think Makhachev should be the favorite? I think this should be a pick'em. I think this should be literally like a minus 115, minus 115 pick'em. My question to you, AJ, is why exactly does Islam Makhachev, in the eyes of the bettors, have a much more substantial chance of actually winning via submission than Charles Oliveira does? Plus 185 for Makhachev, plus 315 for Dobronx. Why is that?
I genuinely think it has to do with what the camp that is coming out of in the vocal aspect and the weight that really Makhachev's newfound head coach Khabib weighs in on when he's going around saying, where how do you think that Oliveira is better than Makhachev on the ground when Oliveira's tapped 8 times and Makhachev has never tapped. I think that a lot of that outside source and that kind of that noise that's building into the fight that's really being pushed by the media really does go into effect for a lot of people. And I think it's like this, man, because in my mind, when I think of the two fighters, who do I think of as the more specialized in submitting people, getting to a position whether advantageous to you in the beginning or not, so putting yourself in that sketchy position in order to get the submission out of it. That's Charles Oliveira to me. And when you think of Islam Makhachev, you're thinking Smash City. Mm-hmm. So as far as that submission, it's interesting. But what blows me your mind is that plus 1,000 decision for Charles Oliveira, man. They don't think his dude's going to get a decision at all. Either it's finish or nothing. What do you think? Is that true, finish or nothing, or does Charles Oliveira stand a chance to win this fight?
I don't think it's finish or nothing, but I do think it's pretty self-evident, man. If you look at their styles, Makhachev has a better style to win a decision. He could lay and pray for 5 rounds and get a dub, right? As long as you maintain top position, stay away from getting submitted and land some ground and pound, you're going to win all the rounds, man. Look at what he did to Drew Dober. Like, he just kind of beat his ass for 3 rounds, holding him on the ground. Look at what he did to Thiago Moises. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing. If you look at specifically, man, those couple of fights right there, it's really interesting because I don't think Makhachev, I think if the opportunity presents itself, he'll try to submit Oliveira, but I think the easiest path to victory is a TKO finish, man. We know Oliveira gets dropped. What's Makhachev been spewing this whole time? Well, the reason why people lose is because they're afraid to jump into his guard. I don't give a shit. I'll jump into that guard, right? And I know I'm going to be able to beat him. Does he know that? No. No. But I do find it that if Oliveira cannot get the perfectly timed takedown, Makhachev can have some success on the ground, which is why I think this fight's going to last a little bit longer than people think. I think a lot of people are thinking first round spark for one of these guys, and while I can see that happening, I can see this going 3-4 rounds. You know what I mean? I could totally see that. So let's talk about it, brother. Let's literally give the picks, man. Islam Makhachev is somebody who you cannot count out of this fight. Dobronx is someone who you cannot count out of this fight. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to the people, to you, AJ. I'm not going to lie. Going into this, I had Dobronx winning. But it's hard to deny Islam Makhachev could really just upset. And he could be that good, man. We just don't know. He hasn't been tested yet. He could be that good. So I'm just going to put myself out there. Over and under is 2.5 rounds. I want the over. I want over 2.5 rounds, and I want a TKO victory by Islam Makhachev. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm predicting to see. Now, honestly, I want 5-round bloodbath, right? That's what I really want to see, but that's my pick right there. I know it's bold, brother. I know it is, but now you lay it on the line. What you got? How do you got it?
I'm with you, Derek, and honestly, man, I can see this unfolding in a multitude of ways. But for me, I think we're going to see a Charles Oliveira, a round 4 TKO, KO, however you want to call it, round 4 knockout coming from the Charles Oliveira camp, man. We're gonna see that Goku level hair come out. It's gonna be a banger, and I'm kind of hoping for a longer fight, man. So I'm with you with that over. I think we're gonna see a lot of surprising things coming out of both fighters, really testing each other and probably making both fighters elevate. This is going to be like you said, one of those ones where you're betting on who you have to bet on because we have to bet on this show. But this is going to be a fucking fun fight to watch either way, man.
You know I love me a good Dragon Ball Z reference too, brother. So I better see some Super Saiyan hair flying around. Let's fucking go, man. This is going to be literally one of the biggest, most impactful fights, and this is going to determine what the future of the division is going to be. I don't care if Do Bronx loses. He is still a real player in the game. If Islam Makhachev loses, still these are probably the two best fighters in the entire division.